Welcome to Knicksfandom. This is an independent New York Knicks fan-based podcast, which was created by fans for fans. The show is hosted by LA Blackwell, Danny, and Flau. They'll discuss the issues surrounding the Knicks, the NBA, and various other sports-related topics. Join us. It's going to be a heck of a ride.
It's about to hit the fan, hit the flow. That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. Knicksfandom, episode 19. I'm your host, as always, LA Blackwell, and I'm glad to be joined by my fellow co-host, Danny D. How's everything, Danny D?
I'm good, LA. How's everything going with you?
I'm good, man. We got a good episode today, as always. How about you, Flo? How's everything on your side?
LA, I'm great, man. How you doing today, man?
Very well, very well. For today's episode, we bring a very special episode, fans and listeners overall. We'll be joined by our very first guest. Although our show go by the name of Knicksfandom, we also cover the NBA. Therefore, we wanted to shine some light on a neighboring franchise in the form of the Brooklyn Nets. I know we have been a little harsh on them in the past, and I kind of treat them like a little brother. But this show exemplifies one thing. It's that we try to be truthful, and we try to be fair overall. We discuss primarily the Knicks and the entire NBA as fans and the sports landscape at the present time from our individual perspectives, but we want to put a little different perspective in the form of today's show. So our special guest for today is Dave Ellison Jr., a.k.a. Mr. Nets. His perspective is one that many of our listeners may share as well. You know, I'm happy to have him on the show overall. He's a gentleman who I would like to consider a brother from another mother. To me, he's truly one of the biggest and most knowledgeable Net fans that I've ever known. I believe that our listeners will find his perspective refreshing, entertaining, and very interesting overall. How you doing, Mr. Nets?
How you doing, brother?
I'm quite well, man. You've been talking about it, man. I told you I'm going to have you on the show. And now you can do your rebuttal, you know? But before we get into everything that nature, I just want to talk about how you became a Net fan overall. I think the listeners would find that interesting.
All right. If we're going to go into that one first. Well, I've always been a New York Met fan. So, you know, growing up, didn't have cable. So I was searching for the Mets that used to come on Channel 9. So I turned to Channel 9 waiting for the Mets. I guess I should have used a TV guide. But just turning to Channel 9 looking for the Mets. And I seen a team. I thought it was a college team. So, and I didn't know much about basketball. So I learned the game of basketball watching this college team I thought at the time, which ended up being at that time, the New Jersey Nets. So, you know, I started following that team. I grew a passion for this team, and they was in last place then, like they are right now, right? So, you know, so that's how I grew up being a fan of the Nets, just basically looking for the Mets. You know, so the Nets are like the hardworking, you know, even though they were Jersey then, they show you that Brooklyn grit, you know, hardworking guys, and you know, the Knicks is known to be more the bougie people, you know, and we the hardworking Nets over on this side.
Bougie. That's a tough one, man. Because we from the Oakley, Charles, Anthony Mason days, man.
Oh,
go ahead, Phil.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, D. Go ahead,
Charles
David.
Oakley. That's a guy that I respect a lot, and I was glad to see him there front row with an organization that respect hard work. Just wanted to put that in there.
I knew that was coming. Okay. Well, thank you for the background. I really appreciate that. You know, we all come to the ways as sports fans, you know. And I just want to make sure the listeners got a taste of that. You know, I became a Knicks fan overall, not because of that reason. That was a team that was everybody grew up watching at the time in the household and things of that nature. And I stayed with them, you know, through the ups and the downs. I never was a fan that went backwards and forwards, tried to jump on the Chicago Bulls bandwagon or the Lakers bandwagon and things of that nature. And, you know, you can't trade the passion that you have for a team. So I respect that. And, you know, overall, anything you want to add to that, Danny D?
That's what I said. It's just the love for the culture, man. That's the team. New York, New Jersey is all love. Basketball is all love, baby. All love. Born in love.
Definitely. How about you, Flo? Anything you want to add to that?
Well, LA, you know, Mr. Net, I got to agree with Mr. Net. You got to look at it. Back in the day, the best basketball players, they used to scout them from Brooklyn, not Manhattan. So he's got a great point.
That's true. That's just one good thing you could really look about the Nets. You know, it took them a while to get to Brooklyn, but we'll talk about that as we go along the show overall. And for the next question regarding the Nets, Mr. Net, you know, I just want to talk about, you know, before we really delve into the Knicks and Nets history, what do you think about the overall direction of your team? How do you feel about that overall, Mr. Net?
the direction of the team. We in rebuild mode right now. There's can't really say much about it. We rebuilding without draft picks. So everybody know about Billy King, right? I had something else to say, but you said keep it PG, right?
Pretty much.
That guy did a horrible job. He gut us like a fish. What King did. I'm pretty sure no other NBA organization would hire this guy. I won't hire him to mop floors, in the building. That guy did one of the most atrocious jobs of all time. He allowed Danny Ferry, Neil O'Shea, Danny Ainge to plunder our team. The GM for the Rockets, they asked a question like, what was the greatest move that that a GM ever did? And he quoted the Gerald Wallace trade where the Nets traded, our number 6 pick, which ended up being Damian Leonard, as you already know. I remember y'all talking about it on the show for Gerald Wallace. He credited that as the best trade in the last 10 years. And that was before the Danny Ainge trade. I'm pretty sure he will update it now. But we in rebuild mode. I like our management. I think we got it right this time with Sean Marks. So he's at the trade deadline. You see, we could have traded Brook Lopez. He didn't. He's not just going for any move out there. The best move that at the particular time that DeMarcus Cousins lowered down the trade market for Lopez, he pulled back the horses. He said, hey, we'll regroup. So for his perspective, what he can do out there, as y'all probably see a lot of players out there, you wouldn't know their names. He's putting together what we could do. He's not saying, hey, we don't got a draft pick, so we're going to make some rash decisions and tie ourselves into Joakim Noah type of contracts, we just trying our best, out here, we struggling bunch.
I hear you. Thank you, Mr. Net. I will go first with you, Flo. You seem to find some common ground with Mr. Net. And before the show, you said you had a few ideas regarding that franchise. You're a little more kind to them, I should say, than myself. So I start with you, Flo. What you think about the overall direction of the Nets?
Well, first, LA. I disagree with Mr. Net. The Knicks would fire Phil Jackson and hire Billy King. You know that. That's automatic.
I wouldn't go that far.
But
hold on. Can you repeat that? I want you to understand this is recorded, right?
Yes,
this is Knicks we're talking about. Comparing the Knicks to the Nets. Definitely, I can definitely see Mr. Dolan hiring Billy King. I can see that. I can picture that.
Okay, I got you, Sam.
Okay. But I want no part of that. But go ahead, continue, Flo.
Yeah, but with the Nets, they definitely have something going. At least they're starting to create a blueprint. Unlike our team, the Knicks, I don't even know what's the blueprint. You got Phil Jackson right now teaching the triangle during practice with the guards. I mean, listen, either you coach the team or you go back and become the president of basketball operations. Make up your mind what you want to do. In regards with the Nets, again, you pulled off an excellent deal. You're able to move Bogdanovic for a first-round pick. You found a desperate team that needed to create a bench. You found a desperate team, the Wizards. That was an excellent trade. I don't even think Bogdanovic is worth a first-round pick, in my opinion. So that was an excellent job. Definitely excellent job by Sean Marks. I don't think Billy King had the intelligence and the savvy to pull off that type of trade. That's number one. Number two, you guys have 2 first-round draft picks. 2, you got the Boston pick, and you also have, like I said, this Wizards pick. So that's a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, your first-round pick of next year actually belongs to the Atlanta Hawks in the Joe Johnson trade. So that's that's a little bit bad. Now, you were supposed to get a second-round pick, but on the condition if the Indiana Pacers do not make the playoffs. In regards to the draft trade deal you guys made last year, moving Thaddeus Young for Clarence LeVert. Pieces you guys have in place. LeVert, I think he's going to be a stud once he develops properly. It would be nice if you guys can move Brook Lopez. I think he's the second best center in the NBA. Now he's shooting threes. He's expanding his game. He's got to pull up his rebounding numbers. That's the only thing I have. The only issue I have with him. Got a good coach in Kenny Atkinson. This is a guy who the Knicks should have never let go. He was the man that created insanity at the Garden. Let's not forget that, gentlemen.
Okay.
Nets have opportunity to go up a little bit. They definitely have opportunity to go up. The sky's the limit with the organization.
Okay, thank you, Flo, for that good assessment. Appreciate it. How about you, Danny D? What you like to add to that?
Yeah, the Nets, they're taking their time to rebuild. It's going to be a slow process. You're trying to get the picks together and whatnot. But, Billy King definitely put you out down in the dumps, beyond the dumps. Like Flo said before, I think Phil Jackson and Billy King might be on the same page on, I don't know what kind of GM and what kind of dealing they were doing. But slowly and hopefully the Nets can get it together and y'all in the move to the right direction. But Bogdanovich is also getting busy in Washington right now, as you can see, off the bench. He's getting busy, guys. I just want to let y'all know that.
Okay. Anything you want to add to the D?
No, I'm right.
Okay, that's cool. Gotta agree with all you guys right now. Nets, they're trying to make some moves. It's a long rebuilding process, like you stated. I don't want to, keep going over the same thing. Y'all have no draft picks. We know that about regarding the Celtics and everything of that nature. But they're trying to do the slow, piece by piece base. That's all you can do. Because right now, nobody's really going to sign with this team. So you're trying to draft as much, not draft, trying to sign as many little deals you can make here and there, like the Bogdanovich trade and things of that nature. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long while. You don't have the luxury of at least a lottery pick like the Knicks have this year, where we definitely could beat the lottery, which is a big piece. You also don't have a piece like in the form of Porzingis, or at least a player you can build around right now, unless you count Jeremy Lin. I don't in that nature. So, you're just going to see what happened with that regarding the Nets overall, and just see where they at standing-wise. But for the next question I have regarding this, what did you say as the toughest loss you ever encountered as a Net fan, and what's the greatest joy you had as a Net fan, Mr. Nets?
Oh, boy, joy. Let me just start with the greatest loss. I think you remember this very well because I gave you $5 that day.
That's why I like the Nets. They put money in my pocket,
Yeah, just a little backstory on that. Mr. LA I'm pretty good at making bets, but he knows to pull my heartstrings when it comes to the Nets, and I've lost some money consistently throughout the years because I never back down from a net bet when it makes some sense, right? But let's go back to it. It's 1993, first round loss to the Cavs. It's not any finals loss because I didn't really expect the Nets to win. But that year, 1993, I thought we had a really good squad, and he knows what happened, and he knows it still bothers me to the day. But we had a really good team until a thug named John Starks undercut Kenny Anderson, making him fracture his wrist. And after that point, we had, the great Ramil Robinson running the point from us, and we got taken out by the Cavs when I know that we was one of the top, let's say, top three teams in the East, in my opinion. Derek Coleman was coming to his own. Drazen was right there in his prime. We got the mummy Chris Morris, right? But he was there. We had a decent team that year until that thug undercut him,
That's a tough word, man.
To go with my greatest joy, you want to say in a win, was 2002 first round series win against the Pacers. That was a tough game because I knew that out of the teams in the East that we was going to most likely go against, the Pacers was our toughest challenge. And we beat them 3-2. And that's when, Reggie Miller was still there, and he hit the half-court three to take it to overtime. I remember, dancing, and then I seen Reggie Miller pull up for that half-court three, and my pop said, sit back down. Sit back down. I said, oh, God, no more. Please, please. And, I got a lot of bad stuff to say about Kid, but that's a tough dude. And he pulled us through that series and pulled us to the finals where we eventually lost, of course. But for me, that was the greatest game because I knew that, hey, if we beat the Pacers, we go into the finals. So there's no championships in the Nets history from my perspective. I am going back to the ABA. So that's what I say.
I like that loss you had at the beginning. So that was a good win for me. But thank you for that, Mr. Net. I appreciate it. I definitely remember that as well. Just looking at it from a Knicks fan. Also, just think about it from the Net fan perspective. I just off the court, I think the Drazen Petrovic that you brought him back up. I think that's the thing I really look at he's really going to be a real star. There's a big question whether he's going to come back or go to Croatia and things of that nature. An unfortunate passing of Drazen Petrovic. That was a really tough thing off the court, and then it kind of put a shadow over the franchise in me after that. Yeah, Kenny Anderson, he never really came back from the injury. Derek Coleman kind of blew up, physically and everything like that, and everything from there was pretty much downhill until the Jason Kidd trade and kind of brought y'all back. Had a good run to the finals, got knocked out with the Lakers and everything of that nature. But, that's pretty much what I've seen just on the outside looking at the Nets. But me, from a Knicks fan, just thinking about that regarding that question, the toughest loss for myself would be, when they lost to the Houston Rockets. John Starks, for a different reason, on our team, the 2-for-18, things of that nature. So just seeing you was that close to winning it and losing in Game 7, that's definitely the toughest loss to me. And the biggest joy would probably be getting to there or when they beat the Heat with the Allen Houston shot at the end. That was a big win. Just to get them further and just to win at that last second was definitely a big win at that time. I remember jumping through the roof just seeing that. And, how about you, Danny? Did anything that stand out with a tougher loss or, the most joy you had as a Knicks fan?
Most joy from a Knicks fan is actually just making it to the finals and to face the Spurs. And the biggest loss was when my man Pat Ewing couldn't duck the ball. He didn't have the lift, man, and missed that finger roll, man.
Finger roll.
Still haunts me to this day, man. Finger rolls of death, and finger roll of death, man. Pat didn't have the lift, man. Didn't have the lift in the knees, man. He was old, man. He was old.
Oh, that was a bad one too. And you know what else? The Charles Smith Memorial, man.
Oh, I was going to throw that in there.
Go ahead, Mr. Net.
That's my favorite Nick loss.
You got a little too much joy on that one, man. How about you, Flo? What stands out for you with a big Nick loss and a big joy you had as a Nick fan?
I would honestly say the biggest joy as a Knicks fan was actually getting to the finals as an AC with Latrell Sprewell and Allen Houston. That's the biggest joy for me. In terms of the biggest loss, I got to say that Game 6, 1994 NBA Finals, I still believe John Starks was fouled by Hakeem Olajuwon on that three-point line. But that's up to debate. But to me, that was the biggest loss, that Game 6. It should have never been a Game 7.
That's true. But then, some people say, what about the Hubert Davis foul, So I guess it go both ways with that. The Herb Hollins, what's his name? Hugh Hollins call, So they give it and they take it, the basketball guards. But thank you, fellas, for going down memory road with that. And I just want to talk about the present day Knicks and Nets. I just want to make a quick transition about the game that took place today, matter of fact. And the recent game concluded with the Knicks having a loss 112-120 to the Brooklyn Nets, which basically the Knicks record now stands at 26-41 with a home record of 15-7 and away record 11-24. And they would be 12th place if the playoffs started today. For the Nets, their overall record is 12-53, a home record 8-24. They ended a 16-game home losing streak by beating the Knicks today, and they have a away record of 4-29 for 15th place overall in the Eastern Standards, and if playoffs start today. So just starting this today, we'll start with you, Mr. Ned. What you think about this game overall?
Listen, I would love to gloat and say, hey, we smacked the Knicks around. The Knicks didn't show up. It was evident in the beginning. They wasn't even contesting shots. As a Knicks fan, I guess, I'm assuming that, just the lack of effort, it would be disappointing. For my Nets, of course, I'm happy about it, but, I'm just happy to get a win, on Biggie, for Biggie, Brooklyn, right? For the big notorious one, the Nets went out there and did what they had to do. We're a bad team. I know that. I'm not sugarcoating anything. We're a horrific team, and the Knicks just played worse than a horrific team today. They didn't show up. They didn't play. Just to jump in. Melo looks sad out there. Cut that man loose, please, man, for his own psyche. The kid was born in Brooklyn. He was born in Brooklyn and moved to Washington. Let the guy free, man. But either way, the Nets, like LA said, 16 home court losing streak snapped. We got our kids some experience. What else can I say? No injuries. We got to win. We up to 12 wins. I'll take it. Whatever.
Okay. Thank you for that assessment, Mr. Nets. How about you, Danny D? What you think about this overall?
Well, I didn't know we were playing the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors today when the Nets were raining all those threes on our heads today. But what can you do? What can you do? Quincy Acey, 3 for 3 from threes.
It was raining, man.
I don't know, guys. It was raining, man. Drip, drop, rain, drop on our heads. But also for the Knicks, like you said, didn't show up. Once again, it was a back-to-back for the Knicks. It's no excuse, Back-to-backs, they don't come out. They come out tired. Defense, lacking defense, and they didn't come to play. What more can I say?
I think he went 4 for 4. I
was about to say that.
Yeah.
Don't short my man AC.
Don't want to shortchange him.
I'm not shortchanging him. After he did 3 for 3, I stopped watching him, to be honest with you.
I hear you, man. I think the Knicks stopped playing after that, too, man. What can I say? But thank you, Daddy D. How about you, Flo? What you think about this overall game against the Brooklyn Nets?
Much deserved victory by the Nets. They earned it. They're playing well with Jeremy Lin. They needed to have him back healthy, even though he really didn't shoot the ball very well in this game. In regards to the Knicks, same issue they have, and they can't defend the three-point line. That's a problem of not having real solid defenders. That's where the issue is with this Knicks team. And also, I don't want to give the Knicks an excuse that it was a back-to-back game, but it was expected. A loss was expected. We already knew that. This team has been atrocious
against the Nets, though.
Games. It doesn't matter who it is, man. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who they play. You're a professional NBA player. You get paid millions of dollars. You don't need to be motivated. You should be self-motivated when you look at your paycheck every 2 weeks. There's no excuses. You're gonna come out, play basketball. They didn't do that at all. They really did. Much deserved. Well-deserved victory by the Nets. Much deserved.
Okay, thank you, Flo. Definitely agree with you. All you guys right there. Knicks didn't show up. They lack speed. Bad matchup. Brook Lopez hitting threes out there. They look a step slow getting out there. And even the blocks and everything, that's the only thing they did good. Kind of thing, 8-3 blocks, and then they gave up like 21 points off of turnovers. And then the rebounds again. The Nets out rebounding 53-43, I believe, something of that nature. So the Knicks, I thought they was gonna win this game. They're usually beating the teams that's considered bad. It don't get much worse than the Nets right now. No diggers. It is what it is. But what can I say? The Knicks look just as bad. They lost to one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. And it's good for the draft pick, which that's what we've been trying to hope for. And they've been winning a few games. That Orlando game, which they should have lost. Right now, trying to look at this lottery pick. And also that Philadelphia game. So in that respect, I was happy for it. But, we are where we are right now. You're basically seeing what this team has, who's going to stay, who's going to go. But Pacific-wise, player-wise, what stands out with you regarding this game, Mr. Net?
Oh, listen, Carmelo went out there and put up his numbers. A lot of times, I try to focus on the Nets a little bit, but so I looked at the Knicks, especially some of the guys that I hear y'all promote. Like my man Randall, right? I love listening to y'all cry about this great Randall, Chason Randall, that garbage bum. Mr. Gomez, right? This guy is the future. He couldn't defend worth a lick. But, Carmelo went out there, he put his numbers up for the Knicks. Porzingis, he played against a guy that was several inches shorter than him. I wonder why he didn't just, I don't know, maybe y'all more into the Knicks fandom. I don't understand why he didn't just try to take advantage of his size as much as unless that's just not his game. Because our power forward, we got defending him at 6'7". It's a huge mismatch, So that's one of the Rondae Hollis problems when he goes against big guys, because he's legitimately a small forward that we're trying to convert to a power forward because he just doesn't have a traditional small forward game. For the Nets perspective, I was happy with LeVert. I'm all about the few young guys that we got that show a little promise. Jefferson, the same guy we just brought up, 14 points, 11 rebounds. LeVert shot 4-4 from the field, 2-2 from three-pointers. That's the guy that, Flo had brought up earlier. We really got to get that guy up and running. He was the majority of the season, or for the first part of the season, and he has a slender body, so we need to get him in the off-season program and put some meat on him. Tired of hearing about that, right? Van Horn and all that stuff, right? Lopez shot all the threes. That's the Sean Bradley too, right?
Yeah.
When I talk about Brook Lopez, he shot a lot of threes, but like Flo said earlier too, that's the problem. I don't like him shooting all these threes. He has great inside moves. When you're shooting threes, you're not grabbing rebounds. But I think that's the ownership, or should I say the management, really want to protect him. I've been saying that from the start of the season. They rest him on back-to-back games, so they trying to protect their investment. They didn't trade him. Trevor Booker, AC, the guys y'all don't know the name. Spencer Dinwiddie played good. 6 assists, no turnovers. Shot 2 of 2 from three-pointers. No-name guys we picked up from the D-League. Still 23 years old, I believe, 22, 23 years old. So this is what we're building our team around. We're finding parts and pieces, and hopefully those guys are going to become legitimate role players. And when we get a star, hopefully one day, it'll all work out.
Okay, thank you for that assessment, Mr. Nets. I agree with you a lot of that. I think KP is having the same issue with Brook Lopez in that regard, shooting a lot of outside shots, not really going for the rebounds in the same manner. Although he did have a pretty good game today, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. And Hernan Gomez, the guy you want to throw a little dirt on, he's a future player. Like you said, he's young, he's not very good defensive-wise. That happened a lot with overseas players, 6.10 boards. I wasn't very impressed with Melo this game. He shot 10 of 26, 27 points. That's not going to get it done, getting a point basically per shot. And, just too many threes early. They made 14 threes just in the first half, and the Knicks only hit 1 3, and that was from KP. The bench also hit like 8 for 11 threes as well. And they allowed 39 points in the first quarter to 26 for the Knicks. Not going to be nobody who's like playing like that. Lance Thomas had a good game, 13 points, 4 7, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. But overall, Brook Lopez, like I said, he was the main difference in this game. And one question to Mr. Net before I ask Flo and D&D their assessment player-wise. What about, I was wondering about Kilpatrick. He was playing pretty well in the beginning of the season, but I know he had a very bad game today, 1 of 9, 8 points. Any particular reason why you think that was?
Well, there's a couple things. A lot of the net blogs that I be on, they rip Kilpatrick because he takes whatever shot he wants to take when he wants to take it. It's not really a facilitator. We had him do a lot of different things. When early in the season, we basically gave him the reins. He's a guy that needs to shoot the ball, needs the ball in his hand, but he's not a superstar. No. And when we had Bogdanovich here, it was a move that the Nets made because both of them on the court at the same time was counterproductive. So they benched Kilpatrick, played Bogdanovich, built up his trade value so we could trade him. It worked out to perfection. Bogdanovich put numbers up as a starter, became more attractive to a team like Washington. He's doing well with Washington, but conversely, Kilpatrick game took a step back, and he's not seen as a piece for the future. So. And we got him next year locked up for probably like $1 million, something like that. So we're not evaluating him. We put him on the bench, and we're looking at guys like LeVert. We're looking at guys like Hollis Jefferson. We're trying to develop those guys. So for the Nets, it's not about wins and losses. We could have lost this game, and then nobody would have cared. But it's just the Knicks didn't even show up. But that's when you talk about Kilpatrick, it was a organizational decision to have him take a step back, Bogdanovich step in, and now the younger guys, are getting an opportunity to develop, on the main stage.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Net. That's why we got him out here, listeners. Just give us some more information, definitely for you fans as well. Okay. Thank you for that. How about you, Flo? What you think about, player-wise, Pacific-wise, that stand out in this game in your mind?
Brook Lopez once again proving that he is the second best center in the NBA. Doing an excellent job shooting the three-pointer. I know that you would prefer that he's back in the post and score easy baskets, but I think he was trying to find a way to fit in with this new motion offense. So in order for him to get touches, he figured, let me develop my 3-point shooting. And he's doing an excellent job this year doing that. But again, his rebounding number has suffered because of this. In regards to Caris LeVert, I'm a big fan of him. Watched him at Michigan. I think he's going to be a great future piece for the Nets. Hopefully he can develop into an all-star, I'm hoping, in a couple of years for the Nets. In regards to Jeremy Lin, you're getting what you get. A quality NBA point guard. I don't think he's a star in this league. He had his moments with Linsanity with the Knicks. Trevor Booker, a great power forward coming off the bench. He is a hustle guy. He's like a Charles Oakley 1.0.
Poor version. In my eyes.
Yeah, but he's not afraid to do dirty work. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
You know, he's not about numbers. He's not about stats. You know, he's about doing the dirty work, playing defense, you know, getting some steals here and there, running the floor whenever he can. He's doing an excellent job, man. It was a great acquisition by the Nets.
No, he's got the dirty work, you know. That's what he does. Every team needs that type of player. Anything else we add there, Flo?
Yeah, other than that, you know, like I said, they have some other pieces there that they're trying to develop, but Kilpatrick, I'm not too sure what to make of this guy. You know, they have to really think about just giving him some more minutes. Let him be the sixth man off the bench for the time being, and maybe you can move him in the offseason. We'll see. If he's part of the future, keep him. If not, move him.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, Flo, for your assessment. How about you, Danny D? Anything stands out specifically game-wise or player-wise in this game?
Well, play-wise, they did their thing. For me personally, when you talk about Jeremy Lin, I don't think Jeremy Lin is a starter for this. I always believe Jeremy Lin should be a backup guard. For me personally, I don't know how you feel about that, Mr. Net. And I also thought that Jared Jack was a way better guard than Jeremy Lin because I think he was just a better player overall. And just overall, and I think just for the Knicks, I'm just upset that how come Kyle Quinn, Justin Holiday, Ron Baker didn't get more playing time? Because this was basically a garbage game. It got way out of hand in the beginning, and I think those guys should have got more playing time. And let Kaminskas play. I don't know why he's not playing.
Okay, I agree. You want to answer that, Mr. Nets? About Jeremy Lin?
Well, yeah. The thing about it is that we signed Jeremy Lin to a pretty reasonable contract. Just him being a starter, it depends on the quality of the other players that we got on our team. He's the best player we got in the league. I agree with you. I think that he should be a six man. I think he's more of a throw him in the game, get you some points, instant offense. But comparing him to Jared Jack, no. I can't agree with that. Jared Jack was a horrible. I've criticized Jeremy Lin on his defense. Jared Jack was molasses. I'm not sure if you watched him do the last tenure with the Nets. Mr. Injury prone, Mr. Molasses. You know, when he couldn't get the little spring on his jump shot, which he did at one point when he was with Golden State early in his career, you know, when he developed from there, he had a nice little mid-range jump shot that was proficient. But his tenure with the Nets, especially his last season, you know, this guy was he was atrocious. He couldn't hold anybody. You know, the jump shots wasn't dropping. He was hurt all the time. You know, people was running past him like left and right. He wasn't scoring for us. And is the reason why a guy like that, I know he went through a major injury. That's one of the major parts where you may be going to bring up. But Jared Jack is what he is. You know, he's a reserve player. Majority of his career, he's been a reserve player. You know, Jeremy Lin has more to him, in my opinion. Is he a good at point guard? Probably not. Jared Jack wasn't a great point guard. But Jeremy Lin isn't a great point guard. But if you're asking me pound for pound, I would say Jeremy Lin is better. And I'm not some Jeremy Lin homer, believe me. You know, I think Isaiah Whitehead in 3 years going to be busting him up in practice. You know, so 2 years. Isaiah White going to be giving him the hardcore business. But with that being said, I think I'll take Jeremy Lin every day, including Sunday, over Jared Jack.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it, Mr. Net and Danny D. We'll go to the next question regarding this. Where do you see these two franchises heading in the near future within the next 2 to 3 years? And try to be truthful and as unbiased as you possibly can, all things considered. We'll start with you today, Mr. Nets.
All right. I'm feeling real special right here. So with that being said, the Nets. Okay. The Nets, we're in rebuilding mode. You know, you said it earlier, there's no surprise there. We're going to be rebuilding. In the next 2 years, we're going to be rebuilding. You know, I have no championship aspirations. I'm married to the Nets, you know, just like I'm married to my wife. I'm married to the Nets. We in it for the long haul. So see you in 2020. That's my theory right there, you know. You know, I could cut my cable off, you know, and get it back in 2020. But we're in rebuilding mode. Like I stated earlier, I'm a big fan of Sean Marks. I like the direction he's doing, the way he's taking it. We trying to develop assets so we can even trade like we did with Bogdanovich. We got a guy, Joe Harris, who's a good role player. And not to go back, you knocked Trevor Booker. Trevor Booker is good. If he was on a better team, he would look better for what he does. If you look at his numbers last year, he's one of the better power forwards. He's a top 10 power forward defensive-wise in the plus-minus stats defensive. Every day he'll go out there and give you 12 points and 10 rebounds. And that's what was Oakley giving you? You know, he around 6'8", Oakley 6'9". Oakley had a more consistent jump shot. But he would bring the ball up the court. You wouldn't see Oakley do that. You know, Oakley might have been a more physical guy, dirty physical guy, but, you know, I think you're selling him short. But to go back to it, the Nets had some question marks in regard to the prospects, in regard to trading assets like Brook Lopez. Like I said, so in 2 to 3 years, we're going to still be rebuilding. You know, we're going to try to probably overpay for somebody like Caldwell Pope or maybe an Otto Porter that's coming up. You know, we're going to bring in some more D-League guys. We're going to draft with the 2 draft picks we got right now. You know, so that's where I see the Nets in 2 to 3 years. For the Knicks, who knows? You know, y'all know better than me. You know, I got to see up close, you know, your boy Herman Gomez, you know, Justin Holiday, Porzingis. You got some pieces. I'm joking on Gomez, but I think he's a solid piece that y'all have to work with. You know, and when we talk about Holiday and Porzingis, even though Holiday didn't have a good game today, I see his athleticism, his movement on the court. With some more time, he'll be fine, you know. Those are some nice pieces. But where do you go from there? You know, those, to me, you might love Porzingis. He may develop into that star, and we had this conversation before, LA.
Yes.
He may develop into a star, but right now I see him as a complementary to that person. He may develop into a Scottie Pippen, but you still going to need a Jordan on that team, in my opinion. He's very, very good. Like I said, he may develop into what you want him to be, but right now, from what I see, he still needs some work, but he's still a baby. You know, what you gonna do with Carmelo Anthony? You know what I told you before. Y'all got to trade Melo. Y'all got to get Melo. Y'all not winning in 2 to 3 years. I'm sorry to tell all these Knicks fans, you're not winning. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, Drew Holiday. I want y'all to sign him. I pray that the Knicks sign Drew Holiday, because when he come limping down the court, you know, for the next 2 to 3 years or 4 years, whatever type of contract you want to give that Mr. Glass guy, you know, I'm going to be pumping my hands up and saying, there go one for Kenny Anderson.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Nets. Appreciate it. But, just for the record, I don't dislike Booker. I think he's actually a pretty good player. You know, I'm just a little harsh on the Nets sometimes. But I just think he's a complimentary player. I don't think he's no more, no less than that. That's the only thing in that regards. But I'll give my assessment, you know, after the fellas. How about you, Flo? What you think about the Nets in 2 to 3 years and the Knicks as well? You know, just briefly, what you think about that?
Well, I think for the Nets, the first thing they got to do, they really got to sit down and think about maybe moving Brook Lopez on draft day to either like the San Antonio Spurs or the Boston Celtics. That's one. Two, I think definitely you guys need to consider maybe going after star Sacramento Kings point guard Darren Collison via free agency, because you need a point guard that's going to be healthy. Jeremy Lin right now is, you know, his body's breaking down, and especially he's a young guy, so it's very surprising. So maybe you definitely need some depth there. Okay. In your draft, got to think about drafting a small forward and a power forward, starting wise. I would definitely think about maybe moving Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. You know, he's a guy that to me is a trade asset. I would think about moving him so you can get maybe a late first rounder or maybe 2 second-round picks for him. And then last but not least, I would definitely think about letting Randy Foye walk. You guys did it, a couple weeks ago with Louis Scola. You got to let the rest of these veterans, let them walk. You know, a lot of these veterans on your team did not really play well this year. In regards to the Knicks, there is some hope. We own all our first-round draft picks from now until 2023. That's one. Two, we definitely have 2 second-round draft picks this year, courtesy of the Bulls trade in regards to Derrick Rose, and also that Rockets trade we did in regards to the couple years ago with Marcus Camby. We have some building blocks. Porzingis is 21 years old. Ron Baker will turn 24 years old on March 30th. Kyle O'Quinn is going to turn 27 on March 26th. And Billy Hernangomez is going to turn 23 on May 27th. So we do have some players there. It's just a matter of trying to develop them. That's number one. So there is some hope for the Knicks.
Phil Jackson.
The kryptonite, man. Well, I'll get my assessment afterwards. Thank you, dear Flo. Appreciate it. How about you, dear D? What you want to add to that? What do you think about the next 2-3 years regarding the Nets and the Knicks?
The Nets, in 2-3 years, they're still doing a rebuilding process. I think if they get the tutelage right now, if, like Mr. Net said, with Isaiah Whitehead, I've seen his game. Seton Hall, he can play. But I don't know, are we going to have him be the backup point guard, or do you see him being in the starting role to try to lead a team in a couple of years? Because he's a young guy with them young boys out there rebuilding. And in free agency, hopefully they can get one piece and not overspend on one piece right now and just build gradually over the years. They can try to build a good core unit. Stay away from trying to be an AAU team, but they can just try to play together. That's my suggestion for the Nets, But then also for the Knicks, it really goes in who do we draft that's coming up with this draft pick that we have, and also what free agent wants to come here based on how Phil is treating the people that we already have, So that's what it really is going to have to go to. KP is going to be there. Kyle Quinn's going to be there. Can we keep these guys together? Try to get rid of Noah. I don't know how he's going to stay because he's still on the books. And so we go from there.
Okay. Thank you, Danny D. Appreciate that. Y'all basically touched upon everything I was thinking about in the most parts. But I just, added my little part to it. For the Nets, the toughest thing with the Nets is you don't have that lottery pick. That's the tough thing because you traded it away and you don't really have a place that a lot of players really want to come to. I don't think right now. The way the NBA is, a lot of these players that's really star players want to come to a pretty much made team or a player that's already there. They feel is going to share the load. It's not like the throwback days right now for most of these players, unless they come from that area. It seems like right now. So that's the thing that's tough to me. And when you want to build around Brook Lopez, the injury history makes me very nervous of doing that. I still would try to trade him and see what I can get. I would really want to build around him. Same thing with Jeremy Lin. I don't see him growing like Kemba Walker did. So to me, I feel like Flo said you got to get another guard there to play with him. And everybody can't play with him because, Jeremy Lin needs the ball in his hand. That's when he's been most productive. He's back with D'Antoni. But, you do have some pieces, like you said, Mr. Net. I do think you have to, strike gold with maybe a Porter and try to overpay for a player like that. Maybe that might help and then get some more pieces as along. Also, Sean Marshall trying to make a little deals here and there. Little sneaky type of deals. Hopefully one of those two work out and then you can take it from there. Hopefully next 2-3 years after that, you will start getting your picks back down the road and you can see what happened. For the Knicks, I think the Knicks are in a good spot. It's a very precarious spot because you don't know which way they're going to go. And right now is really the big point. They really got to hit in this free agency part. That's why I like the Rose deal. If it didn't work out, you could have enough money to go after a type max player. So my thing is, I'm letting Rose go. I'm done with it. I seen what I wanted to see. It ain't working. So to me, it's about being around Porzingis and seeing what best fit him. Right now, I want to move Porzingis to the center. So I'm looking at the small forward position right now because I feel Melo plays best at the power until you decide to trade him or release him. So I would like to honestly go after Gordon Hayward if I could get him. But I hear he's going to Boston. They say if he does leave because he has the relationship with Brad Stevens for the 2 years they coached him. But I think that player would be perfect for the Knicks if they could get him. If they can't get him, I would go after Jeff Teague. I think he's definitely a good player that could fit their roster. They really need some speed on this team and some defense. That's the biggest thing with this team right now, looking at these Knicks individually. And that's where I would go with that. And the draft, I would definitely look at a power forward as well as a small forward. If we can't get Hayward, that wouldn't come. And you decide to go Jeff Teague. But that goes right into the next question. If you was the GM of this team, what move would you like to see your team make, specifically? Starting with you this time, Mr. Nets. What do you think about that overall?
said just a minute ago. I had tried to type it in as fast as I could. Darren Collison, negative. The Nets aren't looking to win. This is the thing that a lot of people got to understand. If you I listen to all the press conferences. I go to the summer camps and stuff like that. They're not trying to win. Even the team that we put out there isn't the main goal for the Nets isn't winning games. That's why we sit Brook Lopez down on back-to-backs. That's why Rondae Hollis-Jefferson is starting over Booker. Our main goal is to develop players. So, and you got to look, Jeremy Lin is signed to a 3-year deal, so he got 2 more years left. We're not looking to strike gold with Jeremy Lin. He probably get traded on his last year. Brook Lopez, if the trade market was good, they probably would have traded him. But since that bogey deal went through, they probably was offering peanuts for Lopez. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, trading him, man, I'd trade him tomorrow if I could get something decent for that bum. Cutting Randy Foye. You preaching to the gospel right now about Randy Foye cutting him. I've been one of that guy cut since the day we signed him. And also one more thing on top of that, I could throw in there is that we have an open roster spot, which we didn't fill when we cut Louis Scola. I have no idea why GM is not signing anybody. Isaiah Whitehead, he's the future. Hopefully we're going to see how he develops. I have no idea. He's like a combo guard, so check back in 2 years and see where he develops. So in that regard, if I was a GM, what I'm doing as the Nets is stockpiling talent. That's all we could do. I'm not looking at this draft and saying, I want to fill this position, I want to fill that position. I'm basically just looking at it and saying, hey, I want to just get the best quality talent. We don't have a star in any position. So let's go out there, draft the best talent available. We're not trying to plug in a whole small forward, power forward, center. Man, just give me the best thing I could get, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ness. But question for you. Do you want to build around Lopez, or would you rather try to trade for like a first-round pick?
Negative. So nobody wants to build. Lopez, by the time the Nets is decent, going to be 32 years old.
That's what
I'm 31 years old.
So would you trade for a first-round pick in this year draft if you could get it?
It depends on what draft pick. I don't want to trade for a 27th round pick or a 20th pick overall or something like that. I want something decent, something 12, I can get back some
12
assets.
Or 10 or 12 to 8.
If you give me a 8, listen, my car ain't that big, but I pick up Lopez's ass and I drive him to wherever he got to go.
Okay, so it got to be in a lottery basically.
I think that's what Marks want. He wanted 2 picks. He seen he wasn't going to get that. I'm pretty sure, just like with the Thaddeus Young deal, we took a 20-something pick. I think the 20th pick overall. If you offer him an 8th pick, listen, the Knicks want to offer their pick, and y'all drafting like number 8, we'll take it.
Not happening. no part of him.
We know we're not going to win. We understand.
The second best center in the league according to Flau. Want no part of him right now.
Listen, he's the second best center in the league. He's the best shooting center in the NBA. As long as Porzingis is not a center, so, he's a multiple all-star, dominated some playoff games. He has a track record still in his 20s, but with that being said, we not winning. We can't be fools. We trying to build towards the future. He's our biggest asset. So with that being said, I want to trade him. I want to cut Randy Foye. I want to fill in spots. I don't know why we didn't sign the D-League guy with the open roster spot we got. You could go into some of the blog sites. Me and the other guys are just wondering what's going on. We put question marks through the whole thing. I have no idea why we're not filling up the spot. I don't understand what Randy Foye is bringing his crippled butt around the court for. I want him out of here. But there's no need to get upset. The Nets aren't trying to win, so we don't need Darren Collison to come over here and lose. That's for teams that actually got aspirations on trying to do something. We trying to build up some of these young guys. We're going to fill up this roster with a bunch of young boys again next year. If we can sign somebody like Caldwell Pope, which I'm hoping he's going to get a max contract offer from the Nets. Not sure if Pistons going to match it, but we're going to try to get somebody like that, draft some people, sign some D-League guys, and go from there. Let's see how it go.
Okay. That's it. Thank you there, Mr. Net. Appreciate that. How about you, Flo? What are your thoughts if you was the general manager of the teams? What would you do right now? Just brief synopsis.
I think I already said it earlier.
Oh, the moves you were saying about Holiday and things of that nature?
In regards with the Nets, yeah, I mean, I would definitely do those moves. In regards to like signing a big name free agent like KCP, that's a great idea. Sure, I wish he would come join the Knicks.
Okay.
But
He's a
that's
little
great
undersized
idea.
for me.
The Nets-
That's the only thing.
He's 6'5".
Yeah, but he's just more of a shooter. I'd rather wait till next year, 2018, go after Avery Bradley. Because I think they're going to cap themselves out. They can't sign everybody.
How tall is Bradley?
He's only 6'2", 6'3", but he has a big wingspan. I think it's like, I forgot what it was. I looked it up before. And he plays bigger than his size. Plus, he's a much better defender than me. I like him better to get him in 2000. He's an unrestricted free agent. Anything else you want to add there, Flo?
No, that's it.
Okay. How about you, Danny D? Anything else you want to add Pacific-wise if you're GM of the Knicks or the Nets that you would like to do, specifically player-wise?
The player-wise, like Mr. Net said, just try to evaluate young players, get them on a cheap contract, and try to get a homegrown and develop players and try to make them better. You see, like a Jimmy Butler, keep them there and make them practice and get better. And from Knicks, just keep the salary low and don't give out extraordinary offer deals. If I'm a GM.
Okay, thank you, Danny D. And I talked about this so pretty much early in the show. Like I said, I would go after Hayward if we could. I really would like them to be a Knick. Also, Jeff T. I was a big fan of Drew Holiday as well. And I wouldn't mind getting him, but I feel like a lot of teams are going to go after him. I feel New Orleans is really going to try to keep him. I'm also here in Philadelphia is going to try to go after him. So just looking at injury-wise and see how much competition and money-wise, I think you're going to get the better player or somebody who's just as good and a better health-wise than Jeff T. if you do go after the point guard-wise. And like I said, I would like to go after Avery Bradley in 2018 if you're able to move the Noah contract by that time or Lance Time or Courtney Lee, free up a little money. Also, maybe even Melo by that time. We don't know. So that's where I would like to see him go. And then for the draft, like I said earlier, I would like to see him go after a power forward or a small forward if they're not able to get Hayward this year. That's what I really would like to see the Knicks do. And, it's a lot of talent in this draft. We definitely going to have a draft special on Knicksfandom. We'll go in more detail about that. But the way the Knicks are playing, they look they're going to be anywhere between the first pick and maybe the 8th pick. And you definitely get a solid player to go with Porzingis for the Knicks right now in the next year or two. And you add a big-time free agent this year and the likes of Hayward or Teague. I think you're right there to really cause, get into the playoffs if you sign like Holiday as your backup and Hernan Gomez goes to the bench as a solid backup. Or if you decide to keep him as the center and play him with Porzingis, I don't know how well it's going to work, but we'll see as time goes by, But I don't think the Knicks are that far away. My most worried is the Phil Jackson. I really don't know if he's going to let this team get to where it could be. And if he stays here and, continue to sign with the Knicks, you never know what the Knicks going to be right now. It's, I don't know what he's thinking right now, some things. But that goes to our last question for today's show. Which team do you think will win a championship first in our lifetime? The Brooklyn Nets or the New York Knicks? And we'll finish up with you, Mr. Nets. As I guess, who you think going to win that championship first? Get the chip.
All right, I'm going to answer that question. I just want to throw one question out to y'all so y'all can answer. Do y'all really think the Knicks have the pieces to win a championship anytime soon? I want y'all to answer that because I hear a lot of talk from the Knicks. Like, I'm a Net fan, so maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, right? And I'm used to losing, and I'm already downtrodden. But I hear y'all saying, well, we're going to move Carmelo to power forward, and we're going to keep on adding pieces. I'm thinking the Knicks is a losing. The way it's constructed right now, you're not going to win. So I'm thinking that the best bet would be to back the truck up a little bit. You got some good pieces in Porzingis. If I was a GM of the Knicks, I would trade Carmelo, build up some pieces, reset the whole thing, and go forward. Because I don't see Carmelo being a part of a winning system. You wait a couple more years in Carmelo, when these old guys hit that wall like a Paul Pierce or something like that, and they lose 1 inch on their jump shot, and then them young boys is blocking that ball down their throat. And then you can't trade them for anything. You remember that was one of the Knicks' problems, holding on to the guys. Or even look at the Celtics from before Ainge got there, holding on to the Parishes and the Birds, and then hitting that wall. That's the sidebar. Y'all can answer that after this. Who gonna win the championship first? The Nets or the Knicks? If it's about karma, it should be the Nets. It should be the Nets if karma has anything to do with this, you know? The Nets have been hosed by the Knicks ever since they joined the NBA. They've been absolutely taken advantage of by the Knicks. And if y'all don't know it, y'all got to do y'all research on it, you know? The reason why the Nets even had to trade or sell Dr. J is because the Knicks hit him with a penalty for coming to the Long Island area. The Nets had to pay, I believe, a $3.2 million fee for joining the NBA. Then they had to pay the Knicks $4 million. It ended up adding up to $8 million. Nets was broke at the time from the ABA. They had to sell their number one asset, Dr. J, to Philadelphia 76ers for $3 million, basically the cost of joining the league. And then when the Nets said, you know what, we didn't make any money when we first came to Long Island. We want to move back to where we was at in Teaneck, New Jersey. The Knicks said, hold up. Y'all want to leave? Y'all got to pay us $4 more million. So they've been hosing the Nets ever since they joined the NBA. You know, so that whole little brother crap, I get tired of talking about. Oh, the Nets. Hey, listen, man, you know, the Nets joined the NBA, I believe, in the 76 year, 1976, I believe, or 77.
So. I think so.
One or the other. When did the Knicks win a championship? The last one they won was in 73. So since the Nets got in the NBA, y'all ain't win nothing. If you the big brother, you a garbage little big brother. You know, you ain't showing us anything. You know, and you know the Mecca doesn't have the same appeal that it used to have. And I realized that when Greg Monroe said, you know what, I'd rather go to Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Knicks lucked out on that one. But, you know, so...
I think he's regretting that right now. Although he's playing a lot better lately.
He's playing better now, but I think the Knicks would rather save their money, you know? You know, the Knicks aren't the Yankees. You know, a lot of the pompous Knicks fans got to understand that. You're not the Yankees. You can't walk around with your rings all day. You know, so... With that being said, you know, like I said, karma got something to do with it. I already brought up that thug John Starks and what he did. You know, we got people like Charles Oakley get a front row seat at the Knicks. We show more loyalty than ex-Knicks. Like Willis Reed, he was our GM. You know, we support the old Knicks. We like the military
supported Herb Williams, man. What are you talking about? You gave Herb Williams job after job, year after year.
You gonna support Herb, but not Willis Reed? You get what I'm saying? We put Charles Oakley in the front row for just now. We advertising his business. You know, Big Three. We hooking a brother up. You know, that did work for the Knicks. With all that being said, you know, if it, like I said, if it got anything to do with karma, you know, if God gonna, you know, send some light down, it should be for the Nets. And just to cap it off, and I told you this a long time ago, I think when we was probably like 16 years old, LA.
Yes, sir.
I'd rather have the Nets win a championship than me have sex with Holly Berry. I told you that. I've been on record with that because I said, you know what, I might make some money and I might could get Holly Berry. But God damn it, I wanna win a championship, see a championship for the Nets before I die. And it's looking bleak right now, thanks to Billy King.
I would say both of them mostly they're selling right now, but you know. Let's see what happened with that. How about you, Daddy D? Thank you, Mr. Net. I know you had a lot of history to talk about the Nets. So I want you to, rebut that a little bit if you want to go into that.
Listen, guys. Listen. The only way to win first, I'll be honest with you, Flau, Mr. Net, LA. We need to take these two teams and combine them together, take the two starting five and make a team for us to win a championship anytime soon for both teams. I'll be honest with you. Take the starting five from the Knicks, take the starting five from the Nets, try to get together, combine to one team to try to win a championship. Because that's the only way we're going to win a championship in the arms race, to try to get with Boston, who got all the Nets picks, and try to go with the Cavs or go with Toronto because they're coming down our necks. That's the only way that we're going to win a championship. And that's my answer for that one.
Oh, it doesn't bode well for us in the tri-state area, fellas. Thank you, Daddy D. What you think about that, Flo? Who winning first, Brooklyn Nets or New York Knicks?
Hopefully, the Knicks would be winning the championship first, within probably once Phil Jackson's contract's up.
Okay. For myself, it's hard to say, man, right now, I'll be honest with you. It's like both teams are far away when you look at the upper echelons. I mean, LeBron's getting older, so that's the thing to look at. But also with Golden State, they keep adding pieces to that team. Although the cap is going to catch them sooner or later, you have to see if they sign Durant and Curry back. this team is going to definitely contend for a while. Also, can't count out Popovich and the Spurs. So right now, I'm just trying to be back in the playoff on the Knicks and actually had a piece that you think could actually contend for the championship. But it's hard to say either way. I can't really make a real honest, unbiased statement. You know, in my heart, I say it's going to be the Knicks. But, you know, you never know right now. The Nets have been there before. They made it to the finals, just like the Knicks did. Neither team, when they went there, I think the closest team that had a chance to win it was the Knicks during that year. But since then, you know, everybody knew the Nets were going to lose to the Lakers. I knew the Knicks was going to lose to the Spurs once Pat Ewing was injured. So from there, just looking at it, it's very, very hard to say at this point, you know. But that's pretty much it for that question. I appreciate you fellas' responses. Any other last responses or remarks y'all like to make regarding this topic as we close the show? Anybody could just jump in there real quick?
Yeah, I got one question for Mr. Net. Keep in mind that originally you guys were going after Carmelo Anthony first. So my question is, if the shoes were reversed, and hypothetically, if you guys actually pulled the trigger and gotten Carmelo Anthony, do you feel the Nets would be in the same situation where they are today, or they would be where the Knicks are currently if you guys had Carmelo Anthony?
If we had Carmelo Anthony, we'd be in a better position. Do you want me to say what happened in LA when that trade went down? What was going on?
You can briefly talk about that regarding. I know the show is coming to a conclusion. I know the Darren Williams scenario is going to
come up. When Carmelo Anthony got on his high horse and rejected that trade, it's not that we didn't have the trade in place. Carmelo Anthony had the right to reject any trade, and he rejected the trade to Brooklyn. That was a signed, sealed, delivered deal. We brought him into Brooklyn. We tried to convince him, and he basically said, "Listen, I'm not going to sign an extension with the Nets. Y'all can trade me all y'all want. I'm going to, go to whatever team I want." So the Nets like, "Yo, we can't give up all these draft picks and not get anything back, So with that being said, the Nets flipped it to Darren Williams, and Mr. LA said that we ended up with the better player. Isn't that true?
Yeah, at the time. Because that's when he was in Utah. He was actually putting up good numbers, and it was him and CP3,
And I told you, no. Listen, right now, Darren Williams had no asset. He's no value. Right now, at least the Knicks still got value when it comes to Carmelo Anthony for that regard. So we would have been, everything would have changed. We wouldn't have did that Damian Lillard trade because we did that to make. Yeah, we did that trade to make. We did that trade to make Darren Williams happy. Also, we was on the brink of also trading for Dwight Howard. It's a multitude of things that changed the course of direction for the Nets. When Dwight Howard had that 12 o'clock change of heart, everything changed. So it's a multitude of stuff that happened that, and the Nets not firing Billy King was the worst thing. What else can you say,
That pretty much sums it up. Oh, one other thing I want to say regarding the Carmelo, I agree. We don't really want to build around him at this point. But the thing is, because of that no trade clause, you pretty much have to keep him in that equation until you can find a way to make him agree to a trade. That's the reason I'm like every move I'm still make, it still has him some comparison because he's going to be here until he decides he don't want to be here at this point. So even when you make a move or a draft pick, you have to think about what player is going to take that spot. And that's why I think Hayward, would be a good spot for them to fit in, even with Melo being here. But, you pretty much summed it up with the Nets, in that regard. So I appreciate that, Mr. Nets. And, thank you again for appearing on our show as our first guest.
No problem.
I appreciate that. And hope it's the first of many. And, as we conclude our show and the closing remarks, anything you'd like to say, Mr. Nets?
Oh, I had a question. One of my friends, he asked me to ask y'all, the panel, what do y'all think about the UCLA point guard? And would you think that he'd be a good fit for the Knicks?
I hear you. I think he's a pretty good point guard. I don't think the Knicks going to be able to draft him because I don't think they're going to be that bad in order to get that high. I'm here. He's going to go in the top, 1 or 2, maybe even 1 or 4. So I'm not sure the Knicks is going to be in that position. But I'm not. Me personally, I wouldn't want to get him first because I don't think he's going to be that superstar yet. Although it's still early, we haven't done our draft review with a lot of things I got to look at first. I may change my mind with that part. But I think we can actually get another point guard free agency that can fit that position. I think we really need more of a guy that can score and drive and, for the post part and rebound, whether it's a power forward, if we do that route, or the small forward. And I'd rather go in that route with the draft. Look at how Porzingis is. I think it might be easier to get a free agency for a point guard right now, unless he's really going to be a superstar. What about you, Flo? What you think about that?
No, he would be a bad fit with the Knicks. Honestly, I would prefer the kid from Washington who declared for the draft, Markelle Fultz. I think he'll be a better fit. He can take over a game with his offense. In regards to Lonzo Ball, he can't shoot. And in this current NBA climate, you got to be able to shoot, especially for a point guard. I think that's one of the reasons why the Knicks never contacted Rajon Rondo. We know he can't shoot, so why bother? Be a waste of time. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. I think that he's a big point guard, but he can't shoot. So his services would no longer be needed if he was, if the Knicks were to draft him. Markelle Fultz is the better player, in my opinion. Better shooter, better overall basketball player-wise, and a better fit with the Knicks.
I hear that. Thank you, Flo. I think the reason people were pushing Lonzo Ball is a lot of people were saying they think he's going to be Jason Kidd. That's what some people are saying right now. The Jason Kidd couldn't shoot when he first came in, but they like his court awareness, his size, and, just overall ability. They see Jason Kidd. So if you think you're going to be Jason Kidd, he can't shoot right now. You hope he can grow into that like Jason did. If you're not that big on him, I don't see that quite yet. So that's the reason I'm not quite sure. Although he is big. He's like 6'6", I think. So you don't really know. But I have to wait. I have to see a little more of the clips before I can really go that route. How about you, D? What you think about that?
Yeah, it's a lot of clipping. Also, he's a big guard. Defensive-wise, he got some lapses. And also, he's a very creative, but the ball has to be in his hand. So that's the thing. If he comes to the Knicks, he has to have, like you said, key players that he has to play with. And also, you have to have the general of the team consensus to let this young man run the team. And I don't see that happening.
Okay. Anything you want to add that, Mr. Net?
No, I'm just, for the fans out there, I appreciate the opportunity to come on the show and spar with these gentlemen. I turned to PG. I had a lot more, animated stuff up there. But, I love the opportunity to speak with y'all, about the Knicks, about the Nets. I've been a long-time Knick hater. I think I kept it toned a little bit, somewhat. And that's a good preview for the future show that you're talking about doing with the draft. So, but just going back to it, I appreciate the opportunity, fellas, all right?
Okay, thank you very much. Same here. How about you, Danny D? What's your closing remarks for today's show?
Man, Mr. Net, thank you. Appreciate you coming on. All the fans, listeners, thank you once again. Hey, man, thanks.
Thank you, Danny D. How about you, Flo? What's your closing remarks?
Thank you for Mr. Net for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate it. I want to thank all the listeners and the fans. Please subscribe, tell a friend. Knicksfandom all the way. Thank you all, gentlemen, for being part of this great show. And once again, thank you, Mr. Net, as always, for being on this episode. Hopefully, you'll be back on the show for future episodes.
Okay, thank you,
No problem, fellas.
All right, much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Net, a.k.a., Dave Ellison Jr., guys. Mr. Net, really appreciate it. As always, you're always welcome back to the show. Also want to thank my co-hosts, as always, Danny D, Flo, couldn't do without you. Big thanks to our loyal listeners. We hope you enjoyed our show today. A little different. We always changing it up for you guys. Got any comments, any suggestions, feel free to send it to our email at knicksfandom@gmail.com. And also, stay tuned. It's going to be some surprises down the road. Continue to spread word. Have a great week, people. Take care. See ya.